You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious.
Put the phones down.
Thank you.
And speak.
Well, what do you think it is now? It's around my neck, the microphone.
Now,
Jimmy.
we're speaking sport, Don. Don't transgress into anything else but sport, because this is our little session on sport. Now, 2 observations over the weekend. 3 observations
you're not
of
bad.
mine, right?
Oh, okay.
I think people have underestimated how good Collingwood's win was over having flown from the hub in Queensland over to Perth and beating the West Coast Eagles is a monumental performance, Donald. That's my opinion.
Did you watch it?
I didn't watch it, no. But would that matter?
Okay, on Friday, Donald.
Why did you say that?
Hang on Friday, a guy named Billy from Triple M in Shepparton.
Oh, good on you, Rob.
Billy?
Yeah. So he's rung up. So he's got an interview with Sam. Doug Hawkins asked him to do it. He's all excited. He's got his interview with Sam Newman.
This is the last time I tell you anything off air.
And anyway, so he says, because, okay, big game last night, Geelong and Port Adelaide, blah, 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 blah. And we've got the former Geelong champion on the line, Sam Newman. Sam, what a game last night. Sam said, what happened? And the guy had to restart the interview, had to fill him in and restart the interview.
He was recording the interview to be. He did this on. He did this on the day. He did this on Friday with me after Geelong had played, and he recorded it to play on Monday. And Rocket wasn't quite right. He said, "Right, we're recording this. Welcome back. 1, 2, 1, 0. Welcome to Sam Newman, who's going to just chat about the great win, great game between Geelong." I said, "Mate, before you go any further," I said, "don't ask me about the football. I didn't see it." He said, "Really?" He said, "You didn't watch Geelong and whoever they play? Who did they play?
Port Adelaide.
Port Adelaide." I said, "No." He said, "All right, well, we better start this again." He said, "Right, take 2. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Sam Newman." Now, and that's how it started. So, I don't know why that is.
The guy was gutted because he had Sam on. It was all perfect. I think you might find that it might have been the fact that you're from Geelong and Geelong had played. I have a feeling that's why he got you on.
Anyhow,
We've got a very avid listener up there, one of those fellows that works for Triple... What is it
I
called?
did a very good interview with him about a whole lot of things,
sure.
Donald, but it wasn't...
So you didn't watch the football? Well, don't. The microphone is in the right position.
Leave it till... So it
I
was
did watch the football, and the best
Go.
game I have seen for a long time,
Yep.
Brisbane Lions and Richmond.
Right.
I didn't turn the television off once. I watched it in its entirety.
Why was it good, Donald?
Because the Brisbane side, it was interesting from the start, and Richmond weren't turned on, I don't believe. Damien Hardwick came running across. The 2 teams run up for the national anthem and welcome to country. So they line up as they normally do in lines. Now, Damien Hardwick was a little bit late, ran across the ground to join. Everybody was waiting for him.
Yes.
And he was kind of smiling.
Yes.
And his team was smiling as he got there. Whereas they were stone-faced on the opposition, and I thought this is going to be a very interesting game. They were lined up, arms around each other. That's the Brisbane side, focused on what they were doing.
Yes.
And I noticed a chink. I thought that Richmond weren't on the job.
Because they're smiling.
Smiling prior to the game.
Wow, well, that's extraordinary. When would you be allowed... What would be the cut-off point to when you'd be allowed to smile on game day? Say an
You
hour
don't
before?
smile game day. It's a serious...
At all?
At all.
So if you're playing at 8:30 that night, you couldn't smile
No.
when you get up in the morning to anyone?
No.
Wow, Donald, that's...
You got to focus on the
it's
job
long
in
day.
hand.
What?
You focus on the job in hand, and that's reading.
And don't smile for 4 or 5,
That's
6
right.
hours
That's
before.
right.
What happens if someone says...
No, you don't associate with people. You just go into your shell and you start psyching yourself for the effort that's required that night. And they did it, and it was just a great
What about
game.
your teammates? Do you smile at any of them?
No.
Aha, well, this might be one of the reasons this book's out called Crimo.
Well, why are you going off onto that book when we should be talking about
this is sport.
the excellent effort by the Brisbane Lions?
I was just as an aside saying this will probably be why some of this script in this book here, some what has been said in this book, will resonate with you, Donald, because Peter Crimmins, the late Peter Crimmins, is reported to say that you didn't get on with your teammates or you didn't speak to them.
No, hang on. Let's get it in context.
I'm
let's get back to the Brisbane Bears.
Right.
You bring that up later.
I will do that, Don.
But I believe that they could, I hope they do, go on and win the grand final.
Who?
Brisbane.
Right. So
because they have got a lot of fellows that are not known to the general football public. And there was a goal kicked by Charlie Cameron.
Was there?
Goal kicked by Charlie Cameron.
2 goals.
A goal.
Oh, 1 goal.
I would put it down as goal of the year. He was envisage. He's running.
He was what?
Envisage this. He was running
Envisage.
into goal. Now, he was hard up against the point post and the line, the goal scoring line, with his right foot, which was his dominant foot.
Check side punt?
Well done. Did you see it? Check
No,
side
that's how you
punt.
kick
In
those.
between, he let the ball. He was running at top speed. He actually made contact and kicked the ball between the point post and the goal post on that particular line.
Yes.
And check-sided the ball through. It was an incredible goal at top speed.
So you've not seen check side
I've seen check side kicks, but this one was executed at top speed, and he moved the ball at such an angle in such a short distance. It was fantastic
great skill.
goal.
Jack Dye, the late Jack Dye, is credited with saying when he was broadcasting with the Major, the captain and the Major on
Ian Major.
Yes, the captain and the Major on 3KZ, that Jack said, and he's on such a tight angle, he said the ball will probably get jammed between the sticks.
Well, haven't you ever experienced that?
Getting the ball jammed between the sticks. Are we
of
still
the
talking
angle.
about football? Okay. No, I haven't, Donald.
Anyway, the other thing about Charlie Cameron, he's just not a one-way player. He is also defensive, and the number of Brisbane players are very defensive. And they've got a ruckman called Oscar McInerney, a big man who has had, well, not an illustrious pathway to playing AFL football. Started at Montrose, went to Casey, and it's taken a while to get going, but
Golden Square. He come from Golden Square?
No, that's in Bendigo. He
I
came
see.
from Montrose. But he puts himself under the ball and he really does apply himself.
Okay.
And he
Well
keeps his
done.
eye on the ball.
Well, you
There's
keep-
a number of other players too that are very good. Hipworth down
very good.
forward.
So,
they've got a
Donald,
full back that's
just
very
getting
good.
back to the Brisbane Lions, so are they allowed to have any, when are they playing next? They got a week off.
No, they play.
They're allowed to have.
No, hang on. They play Port Adelaide.
Are they allowed to have any humour in their whole entire
Well,
persona?
I don't know. The humour comes after the game.
So they're allowed to smile after
After
they've
the
won,
game.
and then
If you win.
and when's the cut? And if you don't win,
No.
a sour face
Yes,
for
that's
the
right.
whole week.
And the other thing coming out of that game, watching it, because it's the first time I've
Extraordinary, man.
watched a game in its entirety, 2 players, and I just wonder how fit these guys are, because, just listen,
I am.
they play 16-minute quarters. Now, I saw 2 fellows that I question, and there's also Jake Stringer from Essendon. How fit are these boys? Grant
Jake
Birchall,
Stringer,
no,
Essendon are not playing, are
I
they?
understand, but I saw him earlier in the year, or,
Oh,
in prior. I don't think he's carrying a bit of excess weight.
Jake.
Grant Birchall, who is playing, the ex-Hawthorn player, playing for Brisbane, I didn't see him get a kick, so I don't know whether they're trying to do a Luke Hodge with him, what they using experience, but he has got a little bit of flab around the midriff, and also Daniel Rich, although he put himself...
You're fat shaming him.
Well, I'm questioning, because how fit are these guys right now, because they're only playing 16-minute quarters, so basically they're pushing themselves for an hour.
So-
An hour. Now,
So
the game
someone-
used to be, let's go back, and I don't want to say the way, it used to be 25 minutes plus time on. These guys are playing 40 minutes less, maybe 40,
Only through
50 odd
circumstance.
minutes, 50 minutes less a game.
Only
than
through...
Go on.
Only through circumstance, Don, because of the pandemic.
I
And in
understand,
some
but
cases they're on 5-day breaks.
That's
Right.
why
Hey.
they're playing. And, of course, they might be tailoring their weight. They might get away with a little excess weight knowing they don't have to be as fit because the quarters are less.
well, I think it's a bit of an indictment on the way they go. But Birchall didn't pick up. I didn't see him pick up a kick in general play.
So imagine if you...
I think they're carrying him. At least Rich put himself in. But
Imagine if you're overweight and you're laughing during the week. You've got 2 strikes out before you even get to the game.
Well,
laughing
why not?
and overweight.
why not? Why don't you say it as it is? Did you watch the cricket? Did you watch the cricket documentary? Talking about telling it the way it is. Did you watch the cricket documentary?
It's another one I missed on. No, what happened?
Well, Langer lined Khawaja up. Now, Khawaja wants positive reinforcement. Langer didn't give him positive reinforcement, and Khawaja hasn't got a contract any longer. This is when they toured, when Langer took over and they went to England in that test, the Ashes series, where Smith was the only one who really held the... What do you...
Well, Don, please, you're speaking now as though either of us or anyone listening has any idea what you're talking about. Could you just paint the picture as to what you're talking about?
Well,
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, there was a cricket documentary on
Right.
Sunday night about
Yes, about what?
the Australian Test team after
After what?
Smith, Warner and Bancroft were caught tampering with the ball in South Africa.
Thank you. Now we know
And
what
Liam-
you're talking about.
And Lehman, the coach, also resigned.
Yes.
So they had a new coach.
Right.
And they had to get a new team together with 2 of their three batsmen out of the side. So they were...
See, that's how you paint the picture, Don, so people know what you're talking about. I understand now. Go ahead.
No, he's been an arsehole now.
No,
Don.
he's a dick. He
Go-
is a
I don't-
fair
I don't-
dinkum
I
dick.
didn't have any
You couldn't work by yourself because you've got to hang shit on somebody.
Don, I did not
No,
understand what you were talking about, but now I do.
Why do you think we're here?
So
Don?
But actually, well, I know why I'm here to have him hang shit on.
go ahead, Don.
Oh, sheesh.
Go ahead, please. If you touch that microphone once more.
Well, you are complaining the fact I don't talk to it.
That's correct.
Okay.
Do you
So
see
we're
me?
up anyway.
Have I ever touched
anyway,
the microphone ever? I sit in
It's
front of it.
interesting, John, no matter what sport you play, you've got to have a tough attitude. We had last week Simon O'Donnell who talked about toughness in cricket, and I saw it with Langer asking for toughness
Yes.
from the players. It doesn't come out in the football sphere. We've got to kind of pamper them, don't we?
And I'm going to ask you a question about what you...
But I'm telling you, when it comes to the crunch, if you're not tough, you never are successful.
No, I'll concede that, Donald. Oh, no, I'm asking you again. So
Don't point the pen at me.
Langer said to Khawaja he wasn't happy. What was the aftermath of that? The doco
Well,
that
the
I didn't
aftermath,
see,
well,
that you
they
were
had
getting annoyed
one
at, that
wanted-
I'm asking you to explain where we're talking about.
Khawaja wanted positive reinforcement. He didn't like the criticism he was getting.
I see.
Okay, so it's interesting that Khawaja now hasn't got a contract
I see.
with Cricket Australia, and maybe it was a result of what happened in England.
Maybe he was smiling too much during the
But
Ashes
then again, I
series.
could question Langer and ask him, why do the Marsh boys get... I only know there's one Marsh still getting a go, but why do they seem to get a go, continually get a go? Isn't there a replacement for the Marsh boys?
Is that
Is there a
rhetorical-
connection because of the Western Australian...
But getting back to your point, though, can I just draw a parallel?
See, he doesn't know what we're talking
No,
about.
really.
That's all right, Don. There's 3 of us. You 2 carry the conversation for a while. That'll give me a break. Go ahead.
You know, you just
Rocket.
said so. Langer was the one that was the one that criticised the AFL boys for having the shits about having to go into the hub.
Yeah, well, he was.
Yeah, and Richmond in
Toughen up.
particular was the one that had a fair few issues with perhaps
And,
being
yeah.
prima donnas. So yeah, it's interesting that that's an interesting parallel between what you were just saying about Richmond and what you're saying now about Langer.
Yeah.
Is it or not?
What did I say about... I said nothing about Richmond.
they were
I'm
smiling
sorry.
and carrying
Yes,
on
I
being
did.
soft.
I was critical of their... Sorry, yes, I agree. I'm going back to the hub. I think, what the... I didn't talk about the hub. Yes, you're right. I think there's a degree of arrogancy in the...
Arrogancy.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, they are a little arrogant.
It's not a word, Donald. Arrogance is
Thank you,
just the word.
dictionary. Geez, it's lucky you got a retentive memory. You got no brains, but you got a retentive memory. There is a real difference. I think they're a little bit arrogant, complacent, and think they're a little bit better than what they are, Richmond.
Because the coach was late getting to the
that was one
welcome
thing.
to the
Yeah,
what's that
and the
called?
smiling
Welcome
of
to the,
well, I wouldn't have been
you call
smiling running across the ground if
what do
I
you
was
call
Hardwick.
welcome to nation. What do you call
Wait,
it?
welcome to country,
Welcome to country. So he was late getting to the welcome to
and
country,
the national anthem. You know,
yeah, and they were smiling.
yes.
Well, God, that's the end of them then. That Richmond
Well, it
are
was.
gone.
They lost the game.
Of course they did, and they'll be not smiling from now on. 'Cause
I hope
if they
Brisbane
hear
go.
this,
I
they
hope
won't
Brisbane go on and win it. I really do like them.
be good. And could I ask you this, Donald?
Yes.
They've had every home game though, Don. Is
Oh,
that going to mean
don't
asterisks?
start on home game. You can
Is that
start
gonna mean
about that on
asterisks?
the MCG here for Richmond,
But they played
Melbourne, and
every
anyone
game at
else.
home.
Beg your
They-
pardon?
They will have played every game at home.
Hey, listen. Every team plays here at the
I know,
MCG
well,
as a
hey,
home game.
Hey, I'm just bringing it up.
Oh no,
So
no, you're being a
why
smart
when he
ass.
tries
You're just
to,
trying to be
that's
smart.
it. Why when he tries to be a smart
I
ass?
just told him he's a smart
Well,
ass.
you said, "Oh, you're just here because I take the piss
Oh, he-
out of you." What about him? Do you think
I
it
just-
might be you that's the trouble? That we say we look at things that you say and think, "God Almighty, what are you talking about?" He even said it.
You did arrive to play angry today, Don. You've been shitty all morning.
Now, Don, don't you smile, mate. If you smile, I'll know
Took
that
a
you're not
sleeping
serious
tablet
about
last
this.
night. I'm still hungover.
You've been drinking?
Sleeping tablet. Try to get a good night's sleep.
Now, I want to ask you this, Donald. Steel Sidebottom said, is it Steel Sidebottom from St Kilda?
Yes.
His wife
Collingwood.
is...
You're an idiot.
Why would you? Buddy?
You are a dickhead.
Who's he with?
Collingwood.
No, you're right.
Who's he
His
with?
father played for St Kilda.
Okay.
He plays with Collingwood.
Okay, so Steel Sidebottom from Collingwood, his wife is with child. She's up, Don. She's pregnant.
Well, why wouldn't you just say
Well, she's with
they're
child.
both expecting a child?
Yeah, well,
Yes.
she's expecting it.
Yes, keep going.
Geez, he just had 8 seconds of dizziness about 9 months ago.
Keep going.
But she is expecting a child, and he said, I think he's reported as saying, if the child looks like it's coming on grand final day, he'll be going to the birth. This is his third child. Would you, Don, here's the leading question. This is one of the if questions which I'm making up. If your wife or partner,
No, I'll preempt what you're going to say. No, I wouldn't. I've been to one birth and never again.
okay, I'm going to ask this question,
No,
Don.
I've just answered you without even you asking the question.
But this is
Don didn't even have anything on. He didn't turn up.
I turned up to the first. It's the worst experience.
Don,
I had.
this is not about the experience, about looking at the woman giving birth with her legs up in stirrup.
Oh, okay. Excuse me.
This is not about the experience of looking at it. This
It's
is
not
about
experiencing it.
this is about missing potentially a grand final to go and watch the birth of your third child.
It's not about watching the birth. It's about being supportive and being there, isn't it? Surely.
Of course it
You're
is.
not going there to view it.
Some
not a supporter.
Some people like to see the prodigy or the what you have created actually come into the world.
Only you would think that. Only you.
No,
would
plenty
think
of
that way.
people like to see that. But I take your point. It is about supporting your wife or your partner. What would you think that would override, Donald? Would that override your chance to play in a grand final? Would you say, I'm going to support my partner? She has my support anyhow.
It's an individual thing, isn't it?
Oh,
I'll just
really?
think-
Yes,
no.
of course it
I'm
is.
just going back. Society has changed. Now, men never went to the birth of their child. Generations ago, it was solely a woman's domain.
Still is.
So what would you do in that situation of Steel Sidebottom?
There's a lot of horrible things that went on in
Will
the
you
past.
be
Don.
quiet?
There's
Who's
a lot
ra-
of horrible things in the
Will
past,
you?
mate.
Who's rattled his tin? What would
Cage.
you do? Cage.
Bucket.
Well, tin pig.
Bucket.
But any bucket. What would you do? I'm putting it back on you.
The question?
The question is, would you go to the birth of your child or would you play in a grand final?
if there was a choice between playing in a grand final or going to the birth of my child, because they were two things that were going to happen at the same time, I would go to the grand final, play in the grand final.
So would I.
Because my partner would know that she
that's your job.
she would have my support anyhow.
That's right.
And so it is irrelevant to me because it's. But
Well,
I can't
isn't
understand
it-
why anyone would have a different
But
opinion.
isn't it if it's
So it's
your
that-
main source of income and this is what
No,
you aim for?
No, we wouldn't put money over the fact that we'd give our wife support. What we'd put over the fact that we'd give our wife support or our partner support is the fact that I might never have a chance to play in a grand final again. And selfish or not, I'm going to play in the grand final. And I give my wife or partner great support and will give it for the rest of her life and the kid's life, but not for the 100 minutes
Only when
during the
I've got nothing-
grand final.
Only when I've got nothing else on. Hey, is it that bad an experience, Don, that you let them go through it alone?
Oh yeah, listen. It's
What
shock-
didn't you
it's the
like
worst-
about-
Oh,
I don't
no,
think
no,
they're
no.
enjoying it.
What?
I don't think your Dale's enjoying
Oh.
it. Surely that means you've got
No,
to be
no,
there.
no.
What didn't
it's
you like
shocking.
about it, Don?
Oh, the whole lot.
Well, just
Don't-
a minute.
don't.
So your wife is about to give birth. Were you out in an ante room and
No,
did you hear her
you were
screaming?
there. You're there.
What?
You're in the room.
In the actual
Yes.
and you didn't watch the actual
Yes.
You watched it come
Yes.
out.
Yes.
Well, Don, you didn't have to do that. You could stand back and hold a hand and not look and just listen to the screaming.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
You could get an epidural as well as her. In fact, I reckon
It's the worst experience. It's a shocking.
it's the worst experience for you.
Yeah.
The
Never.
big, strong Leviathan. Did you smile?
No,
That's
I'll smile,
probably
no.
the trouble. Now, can you tell me this? I saw you going to say, oh, how would you know this if you didn't watch the
What
game?
about you? You putting it on me, putting
Yes.
shit on me.
No, I'm not putting shit on you.
Well, you are. What about you with your boys?
Yes, what
Were
about
you
'em?
there? Were you there?
No. Thank you. What do you mean,
What?
thank you?
Well, you're putting it on me. Now,
I'm not
why
putting-
why didn't you?
where were
Why
you?
weren't you at the birth?
I didn't say I wasn't at the birth.
Oh,
I thought you did.
I thought
You said you watched it actually emerge from
this is what you got to put up.
your
You-
wife's loins. You don't. Well, that's how you have births, isn't it? I said I could go.
Were
and,
you at the birth of your sons?
No. I was standing by the phone waiting for the call. You know, said
Taking the piss, aren't you?
they said they said hello. I said hello.
Who's that?
Look, your wife is or your partner's given birth to a baby boy, and I said, "Who's speaking?" No, I didn't say
Tell the
that.
truth. You
No,
were there?
no.
Where
Now,
were you?
I think I was
Enjoying
playing in one of the
golf.
finals. Eh?
You're playing golf.
Playing golf. Yeah, no, I had. That's right. I was going through the sock drawer at home, just rearranging it for when the child arrived back with its mother. No, I'm making light of it. Now, Don, I don't watch. I didn't. I saw this on a replay, and I've had this. Could you tell me this? There is a why when the fullback. When there's a point kicked and the fullback kicks out, why can he just walk over the goal line and kick it? What is the goal square there for?
I had the same thought on when I watched the
What was
Brisbane
that?
game. The Brisbane game. I thought, what is the point of the goal square?
So-
What is the point of the goal
So
square?
some people say,
I thought
some
that
people-
myself on Friday night.
some people say that it's meant to open up the game because you can just rush out and kick the ball long or short or wherever. How about if you are meant to kick it within the goal square and you can't kick it to yourself, so therefore you can't. The first person that touches it has to be someone other than yourself. How about that as a rule?
Why
that will make-
John? Why confuse everything? You're just adding to the
Couldn't agree
debacle
with you more.
that's already there. We've changed this game so much. We talked about the length of quarters before. What's wrong?
Look, don't worry, but look, Don, I don't have to look you in the eye. Keep talking. I'm looking at something else just to see. Don't worry about it.
Sam's just realised it's daylight savings. He's just looked at the clock and freaked out.
I have not looked at the clock and freaked out.
You did. You went, oh.
I thought because we're not speaking about who we're going to speak to next, I was wondering if we're on schedule for the time constraint.
No.
We were until you
Yeah,
stopped.
yeah.
Until you stopped us to talk about
You did a
this.
double take. Haven't you changed your clocks?
Don, please, man. I looked at the clock and I thought, we have got 10 minutes to wind this up before we're...
This is like Sunday night when we used to do the quiz years ago. 50, you turn the clock back.
Don, I'm telling you what, mate, you can come across the table and punch me in the head if you wish. You're as dumb as dog shit. Listen to me, man. It doesn't matter what the clock on the wall says. I know I've added an hour on. I can see that it hasn't been changed for daylight saving, but we've got to speak to someone, and I was wondering how long we will do this before we have to speak to someone. That's why I was looking at the clock. And you said, why are you aren't looking at me? I don't have to look at you. Don. Fair dinkum. Now, no, see, this is why. I know. Don't say look at the time. That's why I was looking at it. So, Don, do you know what's crept under the radar while all this has been going on? The AFL have bought out... How about this? The AFL have bought out their transgender policy on AWFL or AFWL.
AFLW.
So they are now saying that there's a test of bench press, running and strength curriculum that you have to adhere to, and then you have to have a testosterone level if you're a man wishing to pretend you're a woman and play in the AFWL, and you have to be tested because it's an unfair advantage if you don't get your testosterone level down. Tell me this. There's two biological species on this planet, men and women. Why can biological men pretend they're women and play AFWL football or any competitive sport? Why is that?
You get no argument.
It is extraordinary. If trans men wish to pretend they're women, why don't they start another competition for trans football? It is absolutely ridiculous.
Trans women can play against
course,
the men.
Yes. A woman pretending she's a man.
Pretending.
Of course they're pretending. What are you talking about?
Okay.
Why did you say that?
Let's keep going.
No, why did you say that?
Well, they're not pretending. That's what they think. That's how they feel.
But, mate, I'm not. This is not. I'm not.
So would the woman? Would that woman even would she get a game
with a man
in a men's team?
Well, that's up to her. If she was,
I understand.
That's up to, but because, and this is the ridiculous analogy they make. I'll read it out. It says here,
I saw that last week. I couldn't believe it.
Transgender men. Non-binary people wishing to play elite men's football do not have the same requirements as the same potential as men pretending they're women, because there is a physical difference in strength, but it is manipulated down to a testosterone level. It is extraordinary that is allowed to happen. If you had a daughter, a biological woman who was playing women's sport, why do you want it hijacked by people pretending they're women who are actually men? And now it is mind-blowing. Seriously. And if you think that's transphobic, it's not. I don't care if you are a man or a woman and want to pretend you're either sex, or a monkey or a dog or a camel. I don't care what you pretend you are. Go and live your life and marry who you like. I have no problem with any of that. But please don't hijack a sport that is not meant for you because you are not one of those people involved biologically. It is nonsense. And I don't care how much flack that gets. Just think about it. It is ridiculous. And you only have to have one person who transgenders into women's sport, who wins a gold medal or becomes the best and fairest, and people will say, there you are. It's ridiculous because they have an unfair advantage. And I'll give the case of I don't want to malign the country, but I think it was the Spanish basketball team who played in the disabled Olympics, and they won a gold medal, and not one of them was disabled. They fudged their way through because they just wanted the notoriety and the glory of winning a medal.
There's degrees of disability.
But there is degrees of disability.
And yes, I know exactly.
And it
what
is
you said.
genuine sport, unlike Carolyn Wilson, who
But
said
you're playing a wheel.
it wasn't
what was
sport
happening, I think,
because people only go to watch them fall
well,
over.
don't worry about Carolyn
So were
Wilson.
they able-bodied people playing in
Yeah,
wheelchairs?
and yes, they got in a wheelchair to play.
Well, that's technically okay, isn't it?
Well, this is what they were saying, but they
dumbass.
said they were disabled in other ways.
Did you
so
hear
as soon as they
cockhead
finished, they
here?
got up and walked away after
Did
playing in
you
the
hear
wheelchair.
that? He said, because able-bodied men got into a wheelchair.
It's the wheelchair
Rocket
bit.
Rod here,
It's
Rocket.
wheelchair, like wheelchair tennis. Can't.
What? What are you
It's
talking?
a bit like wheelchair tennis. If we
He
got in a
rattled his
wheelchair-
bucket.
No, go on, I'm going to wait for this. Give him enough
Yeah,
rope.
okay, he'll hang himself.
It
Keep
wasn't-
going.
It wasn't as though they were all in wheelchairs. Some of them said they had a gimpy arm. Some of
Or
them
there
said
might be
they.
something else.
Some of them said they had just were
Yes, their
partially
eyesight.
had
Right,
partial
I'm just-
blindness.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
So, hang on, let him finish.
No,
So,
because I thought the point was more that you're playing in a wheelchair, and if whatever reason you're playing in a wheelchair, aren't you all the same?
what?
If you're
If an
able,
able-bodied person and a
Yep.
disabled person are both in wheelchairs playing basketball,
yep,
aren't they? Essentially, neither can use their legs, say, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So doesn't that make it? Doesn't that
So,
bring you all to the same
no,
level?
so to be a disadvantage to able-bodied men to play in a
So it shouldn't-
wheelchair against disabled people
No.
because the disabled people have been in the wheelchair most of their life.
No, it's a training issue for us. You're still playing sport, but I'm asking a question now. I'm not making a statement. You just think you have to make statements. I was asking the question: is that okay? If it's a wheelchair sport
Yes.
and everybody's in wheelchairs,
Well,
doesn't
it
that
shouldn't
bring
be in
everyone
the
to the same level?
disabled. In
No, that's-
your argument, it shouldn't be in the disabled games. Then
Oh, it should just be a wheelchair. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, then it's just a wheelchair event.
Yes.
so they should have a wheelchair event.
If you were able-bodied,
Excuse
it
me
would-
for engaging in a conversation for a minute. I thought we'd just bark at each other, just bark facts at each other.
well, you've proved it once again that you're an ultra crepidarian.
No, I'm not. I was asking a question. I said, is it okay though when a wheelchair's involved because it brings everyone to the same level?
Yes, I agree with
Well,
that.
that's what the case was, wasn't it, with the Spanish basketball
No,
team?
they weren't playing wheelchair basketball.
How else do they play it?
They were playing disabled basketball. Some of them were limping. Some of them said they had bad eyesight. Some of them said they had a win.
It was in the disabled games.
Yeah.
That was where the controversy.
He's just taking a phone call. Just bear with us.
So what do we do? What do we do to fill this?
Jeez, he's in a nutty
Little
mood
void
today,
at the
isn't he?
moment.
Let's just slag him.
He's a rude man, isn't he? He is unbelievably rude. But a little bit
reckon-
closer.
Do you reckon he looks like Melania Trump?
Who? Him? Because of his facelifts. Talking about Trump, I think he looks better without his makeup. Have you seen him recently without his makeup?
No, I haven't, Don.
Well, he looks a lot better than what he
I
does.
think
Is
he's
this
a crook.
sport?
Nothing, don't worry about
No, well, sorry. I'm glad you're back because we were starting to go somewhere else.
Well,
we were filling in
we had-
time.
we had-
We were just filling in
So
time,
you
but I'm
have got
glad you
nothing
brought
else
us
to
back
speak about sport.
I've got plenty to speak about sport, but you won't engage. Close your mouth. You're catching
Engage?
flies.
So the
A little
book-
bit closer at home. Can we keep on the football theme for a moment?
Well, this is a football theme. This is the
Well,
Crimo
can I
book.
come back to North Melbourne?
Okay. We'll speak about Crimo in general topics then. We won't, because this is, there's a book out about Peter Crimmins. I tell you who's the publisher. I just didn't notice till I opened it was given to me by Magic Mike Sheehan, who's coming
Is
back.
he coming back?
He's coming back.
When?
Oh, just as soon
wants-
as he can
he
square
wants
away with
discernible
his...
break, he said.
What type of
A
break?
discernible break.
Discernible break.
As soon as he can square away
What about
with
his friends? Are they talking to him?
Fuck.
No.
They're not.
That's as soon as he can square away with his so-called friends who said, don't come on, as soon as they drop off altogether, he'll be back. Now, we're going to wind this up now. We're going to continue this later because we have to speak to someone on the phone, and that's why I was looking at the clock in the first place. So we will revisit Crimo and North Melbourne later.